Good afternoon, my friends. The doctor is in the house. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of To Your Health with Dr. G. Burr. It's kind of cold outside, but here's the deal. We're here to talk about a message. It doesn't matter what the weather is. We are all about connectedness and engagement. And you know me, when I talk about health, I want you to have the best possible chance for success. We know as you have success in your health, you're more than likely to have success in your life. Let's do it. We got to be about it. I'm so excited to welcome everybody back to another episode of To Your Health with Dr. G. Oh my gosh, this month has been amazing. We've been talking women's health, getting engaged, making us basically move that needle, and making as a community to have that collective spirit of just living our best lives. And that's the theme of today's show. So I'm so excited to welcome everybody back. Today's show is titled Women's Health Series Part 4. Living your best life. And why not end this show with an amazing, fierce panel of amazing women that are just on the tops of their games that can inspire us and help us reach our maximum potential. And so when I was coming up with the show, and I reached out to everybody, you'll meet everybody in a second, they all have a unique story to tell. But when I reached out and I thought about, oh my gosh, I got to have a show on this topic, and how can we make it relate to health? And I'll spin that. It'll be related to health, there's no doubt. But I go, oh my gosh, I have the right panelists to make this happen. So I'm excited to welcome everybody back. You're listening here live on Facebook. You're listening also, we're in studio here at Intellectual Radio. Check me out on my website, www.drmarkgomez.com. You know my handle on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at To Your Health DRG. I'm so excited. This panel is amazing. We're going to have a lot of energy today, because really, we're all about living that best life. Each person on the show embodies that. So here's how the show works. Every week I invite a group of guests. I get to pick on them and ask all sorts of questions. It's going back to my days when I was a resident or a medical student. I would get picked on all the time. And so now, since it's my show, I can pick on my guests. They signed up for this. It's all good, but we did prepare. But my goal is to really get their stories so that story, something that they might say, may just connect with you or somebody that you know. We've been talking this whole month about just ways to get our lives healthier, to make things better, to really have this uplifting and kind encouragement for those that are important to us in our lives. And what better way to end this Women's Health series with living your best life. And I don't want this conversation to stop today. Just because we're doing a show today in this finite time, this conversation has to happen on a daily basis. If you see someone falling, pick them up. Don't let them fail. And this is important to us when we're talking about just being part of something bigger in life. So I'm just excited about this. So, hey, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my panel, because I want to just spend a lot of great time just talking about stuff. And again, we've got some great questions out there. The panel has been prepared, but just talking about what we're going to do with living our best lives. So here we go. I want to introduce my amazing panel today. I'm going to tell a little bit of story on how I know people, because why not? So, my first guest, I know her the longest, so therefore she gets to sit next to me today. And she's and by the way, she embraced that. She's like, yes, I will sit next to you and just do what I gotta do. But I want to introduce my first guest. This is just awesome. I want to introduce my dear friend, Kymberlee Raya, Chief Imagination Officer, Big Shot Marketing. Check her out, www.bigshotmarketing.com. She's also founder and owner, Fly Girl Dance and Fitness, www.flygirldance.com. You have to check her out. She's been instrumental in helping me launch my show. And so I'm forever grateful, and I had to have you on the show. So Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. G. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to sit next to you. Thank goodness I wore deodorant today.
I was going to let you sit next to me anyways, whether you had it or not. I mean, it's happening.
Oh,
so Kim, tell us a little bit about your background and just what you do on a daily basis, and maybe a few opening words about what does living your best life mean to you?
Oh, heavens. Okay, so I'm blessed to have a marketing company for 20 years, which I love. And about 4 years ago, I opened up Fly Girl Dance and Fitness. I've been teaching aerobics way too long. So I had the opportunity to open up this studio, and ever since we've outgrown one location, we're now in a larger location with the most amazing human beings on earth. We are a girl power, very empowered women studio full of support and just cool people. Cool people. I've been teaching a real long time, so I'll save that. Say that last question again.
What is there's a few opening words about what does living your best life mean to you? So like an opening statement.
Okay, so I think my opening statement would be that every day is a work in progress. I feel that there isn't a magic line I could throw out, that you are constantly working on being better, learning, cultivating, and really trying to grow as a human. You know, I'm 45 years old and I'm still growing, so I would say it's a work in progress.
Hey, awesome. I'm just excited to have you on. The energy is fierce, it's real, so thank you, Kim. My next guest, I met her, she's been on the show before, so she's back, and she's now considered a veteran of To Your Health with Dr. G. And so I met her last year through a mutual connection. I was an Allstate kid growing up. My dad worked for Allstate, and reached out to some old connections, and then we connected, and you came on my show. We talked a little bit about corporate wellness planning and everything, and it was great picking your brain. And then I found out that you had a clinical background. I was like, this is even better, because like we're talking about health and everything. So, but you wear like you wear multiple hats, but you're totally engaged in just existing, which is amazing things that you want to do. So I want to introduce my next guest. Oh my gosh, Dr. Susie Francis Best. You have to check her out. She's amazing. So let me read you her credentials. So she's a HR Inclusive Diversity Lead Consultant at Allstate Insurance Company, www.allstate.com. But the most important thing I like about her, she's founder and president of Thrive Group International LLC. This is a way to just continue this conversation. Check her out, www.thrivegroupinternational.com. Susie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be back. And then I know that, okay, I did okay the first time.
You did amazing
so
the first time. I had to
back.
extend that invitation. I was like, you know, we were talking a little bit off air, and I was like, I had to come on a show to get you back on, because I was so just, I mean, I was literally taking notes the last time we connected. I go, I got to learn something. But as Kim just said a second ago, we always got to work on ourselves.
Yes.
So please tell us your background a little bit. You can go ahead and throw in your clinical background a little bit.
Just brief. I am a clinical psychologist by trade, so doctor in clinical psychology and MBA of running a business. And I think really learned how to live into this topic of living your best life while running a business for 13 and a half years, ran a clinic. And had staff, had to do everything as a nonprofit business owner, and got to the place, so I think just a tiny bit of a story of realizing, you know, the one thing I really want is family. I was helping others with their family and running marriage seminars and single seminars, and really growing the clinic and loving life and feeling privileged to be doing what I loved. But I knew I wanted to be married and to have a baby, and yet the counseling center was my baby, and so I shifted out of that in 2015 and had the opportunity to move over to the corporate side in Allstate, and am able to help others live their best life as leaders of employee resource groups, while also being able to leave work and at work, and now have a 17-month-old, and just love that new life of having a husband and a baby, and then being able to do Thrive on my own terms. So there's less pressure and stress right now, and I think that's something we'll talk a little bit more about. But I think part of my story of what does it mean to live my best life, it's living life as much as possible on your own terms. Like, we usually can't do that at 100%, but when I'm feeling squeezed, knowing that most of that is my own choice, and if it is, then I can make other choices when it's not comfortable or when it's not feeling the best anymore.
Excellent. Well, welcome back to the show, Susie. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to get more granular into this kind of stuff, because I like that word granular. Let's get into the minutia of it all. We're just going to come with all these different words that describes this thing, but we're talking about this an important topic that resonates with all of us. My last guest, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to welcome her to the show. We connected through somebody that we know, mutual acquaintance, that I think knows everybody on planet Earth. I mean, let's be honest.
I would agree with that.
I think he knows everybody on planet Earth. So I was like, okay. So we connected, and I was like, oh my gosh, and then we had that chance meeting at a coffee shop a few months ago, and then I reached out to her not too long ago, and I said, okay, we got to have Jody on the show. So let me welcome Miss Jody Sholeen on the show. Jody is just an amazing person. Let me read you her credentials. Jody is a realtor at Keller Williamson Realty Infinity. Check her out, www.jodysholeenrealestate.com. Jody, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Mark. It's so nice to meet all of you ladies, and I'm so happy to be here. You know, my story just starts out as when I moved here in 2002, I was a mortgage broker, then I had my babies, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 9 years, and then I got back into the working world as a licensed real estate broker, and now I own my own real estate business, and
Yes.
it's awesome, I love it.
You are definitely living your best life. There's no doubt about that.
I am.
So once we go, so thank you again. Now that you guys have met the crew, I want to hit you guys with a quick disclaimer. Then we're just going to just get right into the details. But it is a health show, so I got to read you a quick disclaimer. So here we go, as usual. The content of To Your Health with Dr. G is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and that the content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, and/or treatment. Further details can be found at www.toyourhealthwithdrg.com/disclaimer. So here we go. So here's how we do it. You've all met the crew, and we're just going to talk about this. But because it is a medical aspect of things, when we talk about this, when I created the show, I always start out with something called the chief complaint. And the chief complaint is when a person comes into my office and they come in for a particular reason. So the chief complaint is also like the question of the hour that we're going to be discussing today. And so the chief complaint, here we go. What does living your best life look like for women today? And again, and we're talking about, again, in this women's health series, but we can talk a little more general about just people in general, men and women. But I really wanted this topic to be a great way to end our women's health programming. But again, the conversation does not end today. Keep it going. So here we go. Kim gets the first question. You're sitting next to me, and this is just, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's a way to keep the conversation going and awareness on things. And I have some surprises at the end, so we'll get into a little bit of my coveted myths versus facts at the end. But I want to ask Kim this question. So let me ask Kim this question. Not all of us are living our best lives. Not always doing it, but there's a catalyst that happens. Out of curiosity, what was your catalyst that made you say, you know what, I am just on this pathway and I'm committed to it? Was there a catalyst for you? Mm-hmm. We all have a story to tell.
And did you say that's a right or wrong answer?
There's
okay, just making sure I don't mess this up and get booted out of my chair. So I'd have to say that there's a few in my life, as I'm sure with many people, a death in the family. I had an eating disorder for 15 years, which really, I think, was probably the biggest one. My mother passed away when I was pregnant with my oldest, so that would definitely be one. And then suffering from, or trying to understand an eating disorder for that long of a time was extremely hard and pivotal, because kind of near the end of that disorder, I opened up Fly Girl, and I said, I can't look like this. I cannot be a sick-looking person, sick inside, sick in the head. My body didn't reflect it. I couldn't open up a studio and look like this. So that, I think, would be one of the biggest ones. But there are little ones along the way that, whether they change direction for me or enhance where I'm going in the direction that I'm headed. I think that those might be the two biggest ones. But again, how you dealt with it and how I progressed forward is really how I look at coming out of each of those.
Would you agree, Kim, that every day is an opportunity to learn?
Yes, I'm a big proponent of that. In fact, I've been going back and forth with a couple of the girls from the studio today about things like that, and just really being positive and sending out positive messages. And like I mentioned, Fly Girl is an extremely empowering, positive environment, which helps support some of those days when you do get up and say, it's not a good day, or I think I have another opportunity to be great. But being surrounded by such amazing women really helps, keep that energy up and alive.
Excellent. Susie, what was your catalyst? Did you have a catalyst that you were able to share?
Yeah, I was thinking just the connection of health. I would say two that come to mind. One is more just a life journey of faith. I think when we think of our existential crisis of like, why am I here? What am I living for? Because many of us come to that place at some point. You get some crisis where you're like, what am I living for? And I think best life is being as closely aligned to what you think your purpose is. And for me, my North Star is my faith in Christ, and being able to say, how aligned am I with why I think what I'm created to do? How much am I doing what I was created to do? How much am I living that out? So I would say that's tantamount to everything. But I remember being in grad school, so I, on the outside, was in this moment of success. I was finishing my doctorate degree, and I was also about to run the marathon, and I was working at the VA, and the vets really could see me connecting with them, despite not having a veteran military background, that I was going to run this race and all the training it took, and all of a sudden I got diagnosed with high blood pressure. And so my own doctor was like, well, I can't tell you exercise more. I can't give you a diuretic.
Yeah.
And so it was really a moment for me to realize, and I remember I was in tears on her medical bed, because I was like, just tell me, I know I'm a psychologist, but this is then all in my head. Like, no one in my family has high blood pressure. I'm training for a marathon. I'm not overweight. I'm a vegetarian. So this is really me and how I'm dealing with stress. And she's like, yes. I'm like, you should have just told me. She's like, well, I don't want you to be upset. I'm like, I need to know that. And so I would say that for me was one of those. Again, back to alignment, that on the outside it looked successful, but how I was internally dealing with stress was not, the running and the eating wasn't doing it. It was my needing to choose to perceive life circumstances differently, and that has been amazing. And it's been amazing to not need medicine anymore, and yet it was a lot of the mental choices to need to be made.
And what you're talking about really about, you've had to really trust yourself and engage and just accept things, but you've taken action. There's one way to just talk the talk, but you're the one that's walking the walk. Yeah. It's awesome. Jody, why don't you share your catalyst?
Well, I thought a lot about this question, and I don't think there was a real catalyst moment for me. I just was tired of feeling anxious and stressed and panicky, and I knew that I needed to make a decision for myself to live my best life and try to get past all of those feelings. When I was a stay-at-home mom, I missed working, and I knew I wanted to get back into the workforce, so I made a decision to get right in there. And for me, it was about finding balance. Balance is so important to me. And when I was feeling anxious, panicky, and I knew that I was missing something, that I needed to find balance, and work gave me that balance. So and it allowed me to be the mom I wanted to be, and the businesswoman I wanted to be, and the wife I wanted to be.
That is awesome. My catalyst was, what made me go down the pathway to being a physician and living my best life was when I was 9 years old, and I was in church, and my brother both my brother and I had asthma. He had a really way worse asthma than I had, and I remember him going to an acute asthma attack, and right during the homily, and this is back in 1987. I remember this like it was yesterday. And this is what I wrote about on my medical school entrance essay. And so we all have that moment, and I remember my brother going into a severe asthma attack, and I remember he was just struggling, and I have an identical twin, and so when I was looking at him, it was almost like looking at yourself struggling. And I remember the deacon of the church saying toss us some keys to the church truck, and literally my dad and me and my brother are just flooring it, probably going 100 miles an hour. And I remember my dad in the car saying Lord, no, don't take my son. And he was just struggling, and it brought me to tears. And the great thing is that my brother, he had an amazing response, and he's in Mexico right now living his best life on vacation, and we're out here suffering. But that was my kind of catalyst. And when I looked at that, I go, oh my gosh, I don't want to see that kind of suffering. And when you're young, it can have a huge impression on just your future and everything. And so that was me where I said, I'm going to dedicate my life to medicine, try to see what I can do to end suffering. I had this kind of very, very holistic life on that kind of thing, and then catalyst, and let me go into other kind of things and doing some medical mission trips and everything. But living your best life is you can always learn from something that you have. And I always say there's never such thing as a negative out of we have challenging situations that we go through, but there's always a learning experience. And Michael Jordan used to always say, either I won a basketball game or I learned something. And I kind of take that as my day-to-day. I won't say I'm defeated, I lost, but I try to find those positives even in those challenging situations. So that's my kind of story, and every day working on it. So let me ask Kim this question. Here we go. All right, here we go. We're talking about working on yourself. Every day is an opportunity to work on yourself. So here's a question. For someone out there who may be lost, to not know where to start about living your best life, how does that, what does somebody do? Where can that person begin if they're kind of lost and they don't know what they're going through, or maybe they don't know what they want to do in life, is there something that when you engage with you're in an amazing dance studio, and it's like you engage with women from all walks of life, but is there a way that you tell somebody to start? Because you have those intimate conversations. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great question, and I would say, as basic as it might sound, communication. I think as women, we hold things in, we don't talk, everybody's perfect, especially with the advent of social media. Everybody's perfect, and every day's great, and you're in love, and it's all great. But I would say that I think just communicating with other women, and I think that's what I've learned over the years with the studio. You don't know what's going on with someone else. I spoke alongside Michelle Obama this past summer, and that was one of her biggest takeaways, that you don't know what's going on with somebody else, and communicating and finding out and breaking barriers, especially as women, can really make the difference to take those next steps instead of saying, I would do this. I really think just being able to talk and connect with people, as hard as it is some days, that, to stop in your day and say, hey, I'm Kim, and, who are you, and what are you about, and I'm going to share these things I probably wouldn't tell another person, can be so therapeutic and so important.
Susie, when people are there's a vulnerability aspect, of course, if you're going to open yourself up, and you might not know how it's going to get received, how does somebody maybe have some more of the confidence to do that? We're human, we feel, that's quintessentially us, but some people may have a wall, they may not want to open that up, and that wall, we can argue that if you have that wall, it may be taken away from your potential to have joy in your life. How do you kind of open that up for somebody that may be a little reserved?
Yeah, I'm thinking back even to clients I've worked with, and I would say, because the three of us even discussed, we're here today on the second coldest day in Chicago, and why? Because we are in our best life. We don't care that people are going to judge us. We've either had a mom, a dad, somebody go, are you crazy? Why would you go to that? And it's because we're confident that this gives us more than what it costs us to be here. But I think about the women you're asking about, which is women who've not even given themselves permission yet to dream or to even know what they want. And I've worked with women like that they couldn't open up yet because they wouldn't even first know. And I would say the first step for a woman who's done everything for everyone else for so long she no longer even knows what her best life looks like, first start with a dream. So even if you don't have permission to just say, I need or want to do this, just start with, if you could do something that to you would be fun, or you just want to even try it to see if it's fun. Like, they may not know that they like dancing, but if you could, what would that look like? And just start with writing it down, and then start with taking out magazines and Google vision board, and just start with words and pictures that may possibly be what you might possibly want. And I say those words specifically because that's what it took with my hardest clients. Like, if I had said, go cut out pictures of what you want in life, they would come back blank. And if I said, well, what would be possibilities? Then all of a sudden there was words like wedding, or a couple, or a beach, because it wasn't the harshness of, I want this. They wouldn't even give themselves permission at first. It was just like, I might possibly, if it ever could happen, that might be nice. And so I think just start with a dream, and then put it on a list, write words down, and then start having magazines or other ways, even if it's social media, do it online, but start with letting others' pictures or words speak to you of, like, that might go in my might be nice box, and then share it with others who are willing to dream with you, not those that you know already are going to steal your dream.
It takes a village to really do things, and we think about that and from a health perspective. You're surrounding yourself with people that will help you get better at what you want to do. Somebody that's there that may have their own agenda and not help you become a better person. I would argue that is not your friend. That is somebody that you don't want to be around. I'm saying it for real. People that want to support you to meet your dreams. Those are the people you surround yourself with in your life. And I tell that to all my high school kids, by the way, in my clinical practice. But it's life. I mean, it really is. You're talking about passions when you're talking about just writing down what could this possibly look like. That is awesome, and that's a great exercise for somebody to do out there that may be struggling. Jody, you've been living your passion now because, you said earlier you want to get back into doing what you do. Talk a little bit more about just following a passion. in life?
Well, I want to kind of elaborate with what she just said, because I started with a journal. I had all these dreams and goals in my head, and I didn't know what to do with them. And I started with a journal, and I started to write them down. It was therapeutic. It was mind-opening. It was extremely helpful, and it helped me. It gave me a visual, and then from there I broke down those goals. And that's what that's the kind of the next step. After you write them down, don't be shy. Just write those dreams down, write those goals down, and then break them down and figure out how you're going to accomplish that. So for me, finding my passion was finding a job or a career that would allow me to be me, because I came to terms and accepted myself for who I am. So I wanted to find a job where I could be myself at, because I think being real is so important. We just have to be real. And then I wanted a job that would allow me to be the mom and the wife I wanted to be and the friend I wanted to be. And being in real estate gave me that flexibility. Being an entrepreneur and a business owner gives me that flexibility. So that was really important to me. So I really have found a job, and then I get to sell houses. I mean, it's wonderful. I get to,
That's an American dream.
I get to help people. Exactly, I get to help people accomplish their goals and their dreams. So it is a really perfect fit for me. So that's how I.
Let me ask this question for Kim. We're talking about following your passions, following your dreams. A lot of times for women out there, they're told to have hey, you have to have a 5-year plan, or you have to have a 10-year plan. Can't that get overwhelming? Can't that be intimidating if somebody comes to you and says, hey, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? And you may not know what you want to do, and that could be really overwhelming, and that may even detract people from trying to realize their full potential. What's your thoughts on that kind of rigidity?
Well, I would think, I think everybody needs a roadmap, and this is just my opinion. I think everybody needs a roadmap, but you need to be flexible, and
I could not agree more.
I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I feel like you also gotta listen to the higher power sometimes. So having, like you said, a vision board, having a roadmap, knowing where you want to go, but allowing yourself to fall down, get up, redirect. Almost like a toddler, right? Get up, redirect them.
Reminds me of my toddler.
Right,
Yeah.
and then keep your chin up and know that at the end of the day it's all going to work out.
What about, let me ask this question to Susie. What about women that are older? Maybe they've already gone down a pathway in life. We're not talking about maybe the young women in high school, college, but somebody who may have had a career and then they may not be feeling fulfilled in that career. Think about people that they may be going to work and you're spending dozens of hours a week not being fulfilled, and that's taken away from your own inner joy. How do we kind of address that? Because there may be some people out there. And again, we're not giving it's not medical advice again. Read the disclaimer. But we want people to live. I mean, we're all here for a reason. As you said, we're here because we want to be part of something bigger and spread a bigger message. But sometimes, people are involved in things that's sapping their joy, whether it's a relationship or a career. How do we approach those kind of people?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love what Kim said already, because sometimes what's on that dream board may take 15 years or may take 2. So sticking yourself with 5 or 10 is not as big as what was already discussed. Have the dream, put it out there, and then also flexibility is in the formula it comes in. I will say this because although this is geared towards women, I've met a couple men who are even more stuck based on societal expectations than women in this career thing. For example, one friend of mine is single and in his early 40s, but he feels like he's got to stick on the ladder he's been on, even though he would love to be a teacher. But he just feels like it would totally derail him from his other goals. And I've met other people like that, men or women, and so there are definitely the people that you're talking about. And for example, at Allstate, the luxury I have and where I find so much joy is part of my role at Allstate is helping people do things through the employee resource groups to do community service. They get to use the 27 million Allstate puts out into the community. They get to help channel that to do those things. So while they may think I was talking to a woman yesterday who's like, I've been here 30 years, but I've got to stay because my kids need to go to college. And I was like, wow. But then she finds joy but what I'm doing is helping whole schools get extra books, or by doing this is happening. So I think it may not look like this particular guy mentioned stopping and becoming a teacher, but he could join one of the many tutoring programs that are out there and become a teacher after school, where the kid he's tutoring learns not only about the math, but learns like all these career paths that a black or brown kid in his example would have that they wouldn't otherwise know from a teacher. And so I think that some of the flexibility is not just the time, but the how might this dream look. I mean, even realtors do part-time, or what I'm doing, coaching, I'm still doing me part-time, very part-time, while also doing something that helps me fulfill other needs that I have.
And you're speaking the truth. I think about me. You're describing like what we're doing on a personal level and a professional level. You know, me day in and day out as a physician. Yeah, I'm giving myself to help others, but having a forum like this and engaging in conversation like this with you all is really something that I have the flexibility to do, but I want to do it because, and we're not trying to say we're being selfish or anything. You want to do it to be part of something bigger. And again, when I think about it as a dad and as a husband, I want to have that legacy. I want to be part of something big. And Kim, you were saying earlier, you're like, sometimes you got to listen to what the higher power tells you. There's no doubt on that. I mean, you just gotta follow it. So I just love how you said that. So let me ask this question to Jody. Jody, here we go. Society teaches us that having more things will make us happy, and that having more things is a measure of success. Got it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm kind of a less is more person. So I don't agree with that. I don't think we need more things to feel better about ourselves. But I do like to buy things, so I mean, I'm not gonna pretend I don't. But I definitely don't. I just don't agree with that. I've just learned that for me, this might sound silly, but when I have more things, I feel like my life is more complicated. I just have grown to learn that having less is more, and living a simpler life is just where I feel I can be my best version of myself, and I'm most comfortable.
Well, Susie just mentioned a second ago that you mentioned a particular client, and he's going up. This society is saying you need to do this and you need to do that. And when you're following that kind of thing, you're not necessarily living your best life. You're living maybe somebody else's best life. And so you're not going to get that growth and that joy if you're following a pathway. But the reality is, like, it's hard sometimes to make that change. We all have a lot of things. We're everybody on this panel, we're parents. We have careers, and sometimes people don't have that kind of flexibility to put themselves out there like that. But you're saying earlier that you can make these kind of changes, but little things. And then you gave that great example of finding something else that may still fulfill that purpose of yours.
Yes.
So I love that. Awesome. So Kim, let me ask you this question, because you're a health nut like me. We're all health nuts. We're all about health. And Susie's running marathons, which is awesome. I love it. I got to start training with you and everything. But let me ask you this question, Kim, because you're about health, and there's no doubt about that. So I'm going to say this. Here's my question. Many can argue that living your best life is actually being healthy. So what can we do to encourage women out there? How can we encourage people to live healthier lives? Because again, as I said at the beginning, the more likely you have success in your health, the more you're likely to have more success in your life. But you got to start somewhere. So what's your thoughts on just kind of general, like, getting people to live healthier lives, which is also part of experiencing living your best life?
I think that's a great question, and I would sum pretty much all of my 30 years of experience, now you know my age, teaching dance and fitness around taking baby steps. I feel that, I'm sure you've all tried a few diets in your lifetime, but I feel like there's a lot of information today out there. There's a lot of nutritional and exercise and fitness information that it can be overwhelming. So I think, especially the leader of the Fly Girl clan, I would say baby steps are best. Little things make a big difference. In fact, in our classes, all of our instructors are so informative, but I like the fact that we actually talk to our people instead of just running through the exercises or doing a class. I know that I always wrap up my ending. I know a lot of our instructors talk to, 75% of this journey is what you put in your mouth. I love that you're doing 25% of it with me. But when you leave here, let's not hit the buffet on the way home.
No
you know.
buffet. Yep.
So I think, you know, of all the information out there, you know, especially being a role model and our instructors being role models for our people, I think that it's very important to say, you know, baby steps, 1 or 2 things that you can change now can have the biggest effect long term.
Susie, what's your thoughts about health in relation to living your best life?
I just think to make sure that it's all around, it's holistic. So it's that mind, body, spirit. I mean, the example I chose to share was because physically, you know, again, my physician couldn't say eat differently or exercise differently, but mentally, I was not healthy. Mentally, I was, you know, looking at finishing grad school and a dissertation and getting a marathon done as this pressure, and the way I internalized it was creating literally my blood vessels to constrict, where if instead I turned it around and thought, I am living my best life. I'm getting to run a marathon. I'm healthy enough. I'm finishing this dissertation that, you know, is a monkey on my back, so I can have my doctorate degree done and I can go and help people the way I'd like. Wow, life is awesome. And it worked. So I think it's just really making sure you're also finding that balance of making sure that health is what it what you know is a healthy life in all areas, not just in one area.
Excellent. Jody, what's your thoughts about health?
Well, I agree with exactly what they're saying. It's really about finding that balance and fitting it all in, mind, body, and soul. I really agree with that. It really comes down to me, for everybody's different, so you really need to find what works for you. And just because something works for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you or make you happy. So really knowing yourself and accepting yourself and finding what works for you. You know, working out, for example, it should be fun. I mean, you've got to find something that you enjoy, or else you're not going to do it. So just because it's working for your friend, doesn't, you know.
I talk about being intentional every day and intentional in your daily efforts. You know, it's really about a mindset on things. And you know, a few weeks ago, we did a show on ending the stigma because of the mental health burden that affects millions and millions of women in this country. And one of the clinicians talked about doing something called starfishing. And I looked at her and I was like, starfish? She goes, do you starfish in the morning? I'm like, what? So starfishing means you're there in the morning, you're still in your bed, and you literally open your body up, head, arms, chest out, legs open, and you basically say, you know what? I'm vulnerable, I'm human, but I'm going to set my tone and hopefully have a day full of being resilient versus a day of continuing to be vulnerable. So now I starfish every morning. I just try not to like hit my wife in the morning. Like, oh, sorry, honey. So I have to starfish on the floor now because our bed's not big enough. But that concept, and I've been telling it to my patients. Now you guys are going to start saying it to your family members. Say, we got to starfish every morning. But it just really helps setting the tone. You know, so Susie, from a clinical background that you have, you know, can you talk a little bit more about just setting your tone as you attack your days, you go through life? Can you talk about that mindset?
Sure. I was thinking about even when Kim said that whole falling and getting up, because I think what hopefully everyone has heard is we're talking about best life, not perfect life. And I think probably we all could have a whole different panel discussion on that, but I think for any of us working more with women than with men, this whole best equals perfect, and I think it was alluded to even from the social media perspective, and I really just want to make sure the show doesn't end with someone taking that away, that what we're saying is we've now got the perfect life because we're in real estate, or the perfect life. It's still, the best means I wake up today and I realize, whoa, I'm way out of balance on my spiritual side, or man, I baked a chocolate cake that no one was able to eat and now I'm eating more of it. Like, it's also analyzing what aspects need the growth part, that whole growth mindset of I'm not looking for perfection, and I'm not going to beat up myself up where I realize I've fallen. I'm going to get up and I'm going to realize, just like, you know, running, that first time back after not running for a while, it hurts. And I could choose to make that whole run on, gosh, why did I wait so long to start back? Why haven't I done this? Or I can be like, yay, I'm out and I'm doing this, and it's going to be a while, but 6 months from now, this will be, you know, all behind me and I'll be back where I need to be. So I think best is really about that assessment of, how do I give myself grace? How do I know where I want to be? And how do I just keep taking the steps in that direction?
Kim, let me ask you this question. You know, we all have a past, there's no doubt, and we're all not born living our best lives, but we all learn from the past, and sometimes the past is wrought with some challenges, some relationships that may have gone bad, or some pain or anything that happens. And it's very easy to be caught in the past, to be stuck in the past as you approach your future engagements, your future relationships, your future business opportunities, your future life opportunities. For some people, they can forget the past and say, you know what, past is past, done. Some people can't. Is there a way that when you're thinking about things that you go you go through either yourself personally or talking to other women, how do you get past that block that might be still holding somebody back from realizing their full potential?
Well, I think they would visit you or hire you.
Yeah.
But I would say, I mean, for myself, my answer would be it defines me. Without the things that have happened in my life, I would never be where I am today. I'm a third of 3 kids, and quite honestly, I was a spoiled kid. And parents divorced at a critical time in high school, and all of a sudden, I'm not the center of attention anymore, and I have to fend for myself. And hard times hit. There's no one there to pick me up. And without those things happening, I would have never been the go-getter. I would have never, even some of the struggles I have today that are tough, as I look back, I said I would have never been able to handle that if I wouldn't have been put up against these things. So not that solves something for the next gal, but internalizing, that's how I have said, that happened, and you could either cry about it, saddlebags, or you're going to pick yourself up and continue to work hard for everything that you have and everything that you're going to show your children how to achieve.
Wonderful. I'm a big believer in that too, and I'm all about really being in the present. And I try to tell it to my patients a lot, but I also try to exude that myself. We can always think about the future as well too. That can waste a lot of energy for something that may not even happen. We have this moment, and this moment, we're all on earth for an undetermined amount of time in this life. And so I always say, let's focus on now. If you're not focusing on now, then start focusing on it. But again, surrounding yourself with the people that can help you out is an amazing thing. And I'm a big believer, by the way, in paying it forward. So I want to ask this question to Jody. Jody, when you talk about paying it forward, it's really about spreading love without a doubt. And you never know how that may affect somebody. And we were talking earlier, you don't know what somebody's going through. What's your thoughts about this concept of paying it forward?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me this question, because this was my favorite question out of everything. I am also a firm believer in paying it forward, and it is, I just feel like, my mom taught me that true happiness is found in helping others. And, it doesn't even matter if it's a small act of kindness or a big one. You just don't know when you can change someone's life, you can make someone's day. So I just believe that kindness is everything. And another part of that is doing it without expecting anything in return. It's huge for me. So I just do it because I just think it's the right thing to do. So paying it forward is really important to me.
And it helps you get a lot of stuff out of your own life too.
Without
it's
a doubt.
It's just unbelievable. So
kindness is everything.
Oh yeah,
everything.
kindness, got to do it. Power of positivity without a doubt. So guys, I want to do this. We got about 10 minutes left, and so we can probably talk about this for hours on end. And hopefully people would still listen to us for hours on end too. But I want to touch base on a section that I created on this show a number of episodes ago called Myths versus Facts. And I was trying to put these questions together, but these statements, I shouldn't say they're not questions, they're statements. And this is really challenging for me because I have used to talk about so many clinical things about diabetes or whatever, but I try to come up with some myths versus facts. So how it works, I'm going to say a statement to our panelists, and they're going to say myth or fact, and give us a few sentences why it's a myth or a fact. So here we go. Kim, you're in a hot seat. I've just been picking on you all day. So sorry, but that's how it's going to be. So here we go. Myth versus fact. So this is living your best life in women, myths versus facts here on To Your Health with Dr. G. So here we go. Kim, here you go. Myth or fact. Here's the statement. Happiness decreases with age.
No. Myth.
All right, please
I'm
tell us
getting
why.
older and I'm getting happier. That would be false for me. I feel that that can't be weighed as you age. In fact, like you had said, you're going to find those other things that you're going to be able to do that are going to continue to make you happier. I think I appreciate more the older I get, the more I appreciate and and that fills me with happiness. The more I pay it forward, creates happiness. So hopefully I got that right.
Yes, you did.
Ding, 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 ding.
I should have a dinger next time on the show.
Tell her what she's won.
I know. You want some swag later on. There you go. To your Dr. G. All right, so here we go. Myth or fact, Susie. Here we go. Living your best life in women, myth versus fact. Here's a statement. Here we go. I like this one. I got a couple of these. Here we go. All right. You must be self-sufficient to be happy.
Wow, that's a good one.
Loaded one.
I would say that is a myth. Most research has shown in our American culture, we are taught that that's a fact. That being independent when you're 18, blah, blah, blah. And the litmus test is if your kid can be self-sufficient at 18. And what they're actually finding is best life is interdependent. So being able, as we talked about earlier, to have that village, to be able to have people that when we fall, because we're going to, and if we're self-sufficient and we fall and we believe that that's success, I mean, we've now lost our entire identity. And I think that probably has happened to some of us, where interdependence is being able to know when to ask for help, when to have that village surround you, when to be able to say, you know what, I've got to come to a coach or to a therapist or to my physician and say, I can't figure this out on my own. I'm going to go to classes, not just watch a video, because having a real person in front of me to kick my behind, literally, in a way that I won't do on my own, that's interdependence. So it means, yes, we're strong enough to make our decisions for ourselves, and that helps happiness, but definitely that realization that we can't do it all ourselves.
Excellent. Here we go, Jody. Myth or fact? Here we go. There is value in practicing gratitude and enjoying the little things.
Well, that, I hope I can get this right. That is fact.
Absolutely.
Practicing gratitude on a regular basis it's a game changer. It's life changing. I highly recommend it.
Excellent. Here we go, Kim. Myth or fact? Come right back at you. Here we go. All right. It is important to practice self-care.
Amen.
You're like, I do this all the time.
After I starfish in the morning.
Hey, you're gonna be saying that all day. I know.
You're gonna be starfishing all the way home.
Long.
Bundled up. Absolutely, that is tried and true. Not only in myself, at the studio, in my own family, I try to preach those same things. So absolutely.
Excellent. Here we go, Susie. Myth or fact? Here we go. Living your best life in women. All right. Here's a statement. One can never find a positive takeaway from a negative situation.
Oh, I think we myth busted that already today on the panel, that it was even what you said about Michael Jordan, the learning. So yes, we can learn from every single situation and become better.
Excellent. Here we go, Jody. Hot seat. Here we go. All right. Myth or fact? It's okay living life according to someone else's values.
That is a myth. I'm like, I think I understood that right.
I think I said it right.
I think you said it right, and I do think we have talked about this already, and you really have to stick to your own values. You have to. Why would you want to follow someone else's values?
Excellent. We'll do a couple more of these. Kim,
okay.
Here we go. Myth or fact? Support networks are essential to living your best life. Everyone needs people to lean on. Myth or fact?
I feel like I'm going to sing it. Lean on me. Right? Absolutely. I mean, I will caveat with, there are opportunities and instances that you need that space.
Yeah.
But I think it does help when you are with other people, especially when that energy, is up and, like I hate to keep going back to the studio, but you can really feel it. There's days you can feel it when it's not. When you walk in, and everybody watching will know, I say tough crowd, tough crowd, guys, because no one's laughing, no one's smiling at me, but we get through. So good, better, and different. I think it does help.
Excellent. We'll do a couple more. Here we go, Susie. Living your best life, myth or fact? Here's a statement. Achieving your goals will make you happy.
Oh, that's a good one. Again, I think we myth busted that. We myth busted this. Yes, when we achieve certain goals, like we heard with Jody's story, I mean, she had goals, she wrote them down, and there's some level of happiness. However, we also heard my story that here I was achieving my goals, and I was internally dying because of how I was internalizing it. So I think achieving our goals and having the gratitude along the way and keeping our eye on the prize of why we did those goals and the objective behind the goals and making sure that we're, again, back to alignment, then we can be happy. But sometimes people get so busy in that perfection. They keep checking goals off, and then all it does is create a new bucket and a new hole in their heart of what is the next thing they have to do.
Excellent.
Can I add to that?
Please, go right ahead.
I really think that learning to enjoy the process to get to those goals is so important.
Excellent.
Enjoy that process.
And I'm coming right back in with the last myth versus fact. Here we go. Here's a statement. Living your best life is not necessarily living your perfect life.
Oh, without a doubt, being perfect is overrated.
Yeah.
It's completely overrated.
Well, I think that, in reality is that a lot of times when people have it, they seem like they have it together, people flock to them and they say, oh my gosh, you have it together. And they assume that you're living your best life. And sometimes you can come across as maybe having things together, but I know for me, I still have to work on myself on a daily basis. You have to do that. And so I told this to my wife a long time ago. I'll tell a brief story. I told her that I only have I think I said on the show where I go, I only have 40 minutes a day to work on our marriage. And she was like, what? And I go, no, really, let me grid it out for you. So I took this paper and drew out all these charts and everything and shaded in things one color and shaded in things another color. And then when I came down to my obligations, my time for obligations like work and community and stuff like that, versus my discretionary time, the discretionary time was I only had 4 hours a day on average of discretionary time. And then I divided that into other categories, so like parenting, marriage, exercise, working on yourself, and so that's how I kind of got 40 minutes, and then I started crying. So I go, this is sad. I'm like, this is sad. And none of us want to be defined by 40-minute intervals with your significant other in your life, or 40 minutes intervals with your child. We want to be more than that, but anyways, we still talk about being part of something. So I want to do this. We got about 5 minutes left, guys, and I've just been having an awesome discussion with everybody. So I'm going to bring this on home. We talked at the beginning about what's called a chief complaint. The reason why we're talking about this, a question of the hour. Again, what does living your best life look like for women today? The assessment and plan, that's when people leave the office and we give them a plan to go with. So I'm going to start with Jody. Jody, bring it on home. Give us a few tips that are out there, a few thoughts out there of yours, that maybe some take-home points that can help women be successful in living their best lives.
Start with a journal. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and surround yourself with positive people.
Love it. Excellent. Susie, bring us on home. Give us a couple take-home points for women that are out there. If guys are out there listening to us right now and you're getting these things and writing things down and to learn more about your wife or your significant other, great. That's even better too. But give us a couple take-home points that are out there to help people live their best lives.
I'd say one is take action now. You've heard us. Don't shut this off and then go back to your life and think you'll do it later. Take action now. Write one thing down. Put something on your calendar, a date with yourself that you will take action. And although the timing you said was sad, at least I was impressed with the fact that you looked at where does what you want in life fit. So I think really actually creating a calendar of where you want things to fit in your life, even if they're small. And then dream about where if you're not happy right now, then dream about what it would take to get there.
Excellent. And then Kim, give us a couple take-home points on just being successful with people having success in their life and living their best lives.
So not to be Debbie Downer, but I think ending my journey is a constant one. And I think letting other women know that it's okay to cry, it's okay to fall, it's okay to have a bad day. I really believe social media hurts us when we see everything looks perfect. I love the fact of what you're saying, and I think that sometimes when we're looking at this world that looks perfect online, that we're not supposed to fail, we're not supposed to fall. I made my list, but I'm still upset, or I'm depressed, or I have relationship problems. That it's okay to be in a rut, and it's okay to come out of it. That it's not all going to be this storybook. These are the steps. That stuff is hard sometimes, and life is tough, but you're tougher, and you're going to get through it.
Excellent. And my kind of take-home point is this, be comfortable in the skin that you're in. You have to love yourself first. Because once you do that, the possibilities that are out there for you are going to be amazing and endless. You're going to be better, feel better through your day. You're going to run into people, meet people, connect, and collaborate on so many things. But you have to be genuine with yourself, love yourself first, and then pass that on and just be part of something big. Find a passion in your life, whatever it is, and just do it. Just exist in that moment. We talk about being mindful. This is a way to start. Have that mindset, be positive, be intentional, and the rest is history. So I want to thank my guests today. Oh my gosh, the time's gone by so fast. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like we talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours about this. But no, I want to thank my guests today on the show. I mean, this has just been a great panel, a great way to end the Women's Health Series. Again, this conversation does not need to stop today. It must keep coming. So I want to thank my guests. Of course, we've got Jody Sholeen, Realtor, Keller Williams, Realty Infinity. Thanks for coming out, Jody.
Thanks
this
for
is
having
awesome.
me.
We got Dr. Susie Francis Best. She is awesome. Oh my gosh.
It was an honor. Thank you, Dr. G.
I'm like literally going to listen to this replay and be like, I need to write some stuff down for real. So Dr. Susie Francis Best, of course, founder and president of Thrive Group International LLC. Check her out. This is going to be awesome. And of course, killing it in the Allstate game and just doing what you're doing, just being with people and just creating those connections. That is an amazing talent. So thank you very much. And of course, Kim, oh my gosh, Kymberlee Raya, I mean, oh my gosh, founder of just everything. Kim, you literally found everything, find everything. But of course, Kymberlee Raya, founder and owner of Fly Girl Dance and Fitness. Again, check out flygirldance.com. And I tell you what, I want to give a quick shout out to my good friend Dana Davenport. She helped me out with doing some of the pre-game work on this show, and I want to just give her a much love and a shout out. Check her out on Dana Being Dana on Wednesday nights here on Intellectual Radio. I tell you what, you've been listening and watching live on Facebook at intellectualradio.com. This episode is written by myself. All right, I had to write something to do with it. Myself and my lovely wife, Tiffany E.R. Gomez. Producer is Tiffany E.R. Gomez. Music is by the wonderful Mr. Havis. Hey, I tell you what, stay tuned for next week because we're going to recycle these same themes of living your best life and all these other things that we've been doing this month for Women's Health Month. We're bringing the fellas in, all-male panel next week. Men's Health Series Part 1, Nutritional and Fitness Foundations. Check me out on my website, www.drmarkgomez.com. Hey, it's been a pleasure, everybody. Stay warm and peace out.